There was once a king whose worrisome thoughts swirled around his head like a storm. He worried that his treasury would become empty. He fretted that his armies would lose in battle. He suspected that his ministers were disloyal. He had no peace. One day, as he stood beside his palace window, gazing down at the people in the streets far below in the marketplace, he wondered, do common people worry as much as I do? Oh, if I could only travel down into their world and eavesdrop like a bird on a branch. Suddenly his eyes brightened with an idea. He called his servants and commanded, bring me rough cloth and make me a suit of rags with a cloak. When this was done, his disguise was laid out upon the bed. He removed his crown. He took off his royal robes and he dressed himself in the rags of a beggar. He rubbed his face with ashes from the fireplace and he looked every bit a beggar. He was so well disguised, the guards didn't even recognize him as he slipped out of the palace and began to wander the streets. He walked all day, listening to what the people might say, and just at sunset, as he was heading back home, he passed a crude shack, and he heard delightful singing, joyful singing coming from inside. He stopped by the window and peered in. There was a man. He was sitting at a table, a crude table, with just a loaf of bread upon it. And the man was singing, and the king could not understand how a man with so little could be so happy. And so he knocked on the door. And the man opened it and said, oh, a guest! Come in, I have very little, but what I have I will happily share with you. And the king sat at the table as the man cut him some bread. The king inquired, so what is it that you do? Well, I do whatever I can, and today I fixed shoes in the marketplace, and I earned enough money to buy myself a fine loaf of bread for dinner. Do you ever worry about earning enough money to buy your meal? Oh, whenever I worry, I just remind myself. Day by day, I have faith, all will be well. Day by day, I have hope, all will be well. And the moment that thought comes to me, it cheers me. Thought the king. He won't be so hopeful if he's challenged. And the very next day, when that man went to fix shoes in the marketplace, he saw the sign that the king of the country had put in the middle of the town square. It read, fixing shoes is no longer legal in this town. Well, when he read that, his hopes sank. But that's when the thought came back. Day by day, I have hope, all will be well. And as soon as he had that thought, he glanced up and noticed an old woman struggling with a bucket of water at the well. He rushed over to help her lift it, and for his kind deed, she gave him a coin. Well, it was quite a sizable coin. And so he spent the rest of the day at the well helping people carry water. By the end of the day, he had plenty with which to buy a fine meal, better than before. He had bread and cheese and fruit, and that's what he was eating when the king happened to go past his window that night. The king looked in and saw him feasting. He was curious and he knocked on the door. And the man opened it and said, "Oh, my friend, come back again. Well, I'm happy to share what I have, and I have a bit more than I had yesterday. Have a seat. We'll feast together." And as the king ate the bread and the cheese and the fruit, he inquired, "I don't understand. I know you fix shoes, but I saw the sign in the marketplace that announced that it is now illegal to fix shoes. So how did you manage to earn enough money to buy all this food?" "Oh, well, I have a new profession. I am now a water carrier. The moment I lost my old profession, a new one was revealed to me. You see, I have hope, and it serves me well." Hope. Well, he won't be so hopeful if I test him more effectively, thought the king. And the very next day, when that man went to the well to help people with their water, he saw the sign. It was posted next to the well. It said, "It is hereby illegal to help anyone carry water." What shall I do? For just a moment he despaired, but then that thought rose up in his heart. Day by day I have hope, all will be well. The moment that thought came to him, he noticed the men walking into the forest with axes on their shoulders. Well, maybe I could be a woodcutter, he thought. And he approached the men and said, "I have 2 good hands. Do you need a worker?" "Oh, we can always use a worker. Come." And he joined them. And that day he chopped enough wood and sold it in the marketplace to buy a fine meal. He had bread and cheese and a chicken and fruit and wine. When the king passed his window that night and looked in and saw the feast on the table, he was surprised, and he knocked on the door. And then the man opened it and said, "Oh, my friends, come just as before. Enter. I have an even finer meal to share with you this night." The king said, "Well, I saw the sign. It's now illegal to carry water. How is it that you earned enough to buy such a feast?" "Well, the moment I lost one occupation, I discovered I had another. You see, day by day I have hope. All will be well." And it is. "I have failed," thought the king, "at testing this man's hopeful disposition. I must be more clever." And the next day, when that man went into the forest to chop wood, suddenly all the woodcutters were surrounded by the king's guards. The captain of the guards announced, "The king has required that all woodcutters become guards at the palace." And so the man was given a fine uniform, and a great sword in a scabbard was put about his waist, and he stood all day guarding the palace. At the end of the day, he looked forward to receiving his pay. So he went to the captain of the guards and said, "Well, I've worked. Where's my pay for the day?" And the guard said, "Oh, well, guards at the palace are paid once a month." "Once a month? But I need to eat. I can't wait a month to buy food." And he started sadly home. He despaired for just a moment until that thought rose up. Day by day I have hope, all will be well. And the moment that thought occurred to him, he saw the pawn shop. An idea occurred to him. He went into the pawn shop and he sold the blade of the sword for a goodly sum of money. He took the money to the market and he bought enough food that would serve him for a month. And then when he arrived back home, He took a piece of wood and his whittling knife, and he made a wooden sword to replace the metal blade that he had pawned. He set out the table with a feast fit for a king, and who should come but the king himself? Dressed in the rags of a beggar, he knocked on the door. "Oh, my good friend, come once more. Tonight we will feast and feast." When the king saw all the food on the table, he said, "How is it that you were able to buy such a huge meal for this night? I saw you. You're now a guard at the palace, and I know for a fact that guards are only paid once a month. Where did you find the money to buy such delicacies?" "Well, I'll show you." And the man brought out the wooden sword and showed his guest his cleverness. "At the end of the month, when I'm paid, I'll buy back the blade. I'll replace it and find another occupation." "Oh," thought the king, "he pawned the blade? I've got him now." The next day, when the man stood guarding the palace, as was his job, he heard a great commotion, and the captain of the guards was dragging a man. A great crowd followed as the man cried out, "Please let me go. My family was hungry. I didn't mean to steal the melon. It was for my children." The guard stood tall and watched as the captain took that man and threw him at the feet of the palace gate. "This man has stolen a melon, and the king has commanded you, since you guard this gate, to cut off his head." "Oh dear," thought the man, "how can I possibly do such a thing with a wooden sword?" And then, just as he was despairing, that thought came to him. "All will be well." And it sparked an idea. He threw his hands up into the air and said, "Oh, my good people, I want to be a good guard for the king's palace. I have never killed a man in all my life. If this man has truly stolen a melon and is guilty of such a crime, give me the power to cut his head off. But if this man is just, if this man is innocent, then by some miracle let my sword turn to wood." And when he pulled the sword from the scabbard, a great cry went up, "A miracle, a miracle, a miracle, a miracle, oh, ho, ho, a miracle!" And the man was set free. Out of the crowd stepped the beggar, who came close to the guard standing at the gate and said, "Do you recognize me?" "Yes, I do. I recognize the furrow on your brow," said the guard at the gate. "Why, you are the beggar who comes and shares meals with me every day. I know you well." "No, you don't. My friend, I am no beggar. I am the king. Do you know who you are?" "I am whoever I need to be." "No, you are now my trusted advisor. For my friend, your hopeful view of the future will chase away my dark fears." And that is how a simple man who was full of hope became the trusted advisor to the great Shah Abbas of Abba. Day by day There was once an old farmer who was sitting on his front porch. Along came a truck filled with farm workers, and they hollered over to the old man, "Get in the truck with us! Hurry up, hurry up! The river's rising! The river's rising! You're in trouble! You'll drown!" And the old man said, "I'm not worried. God will provide. I have faith. I don't need any help from you." And they drove away. Well, the river began to rise quickly, and soon the street was filled with water, and the man's front porch was underwater as well. And so he went in the house and climbed up to the second floor and leaned out the window, and lo and behold, there was a boat going by. And the people in the boat saw him hanging out the window, and they said, "Old man, old man, old man, come, jump in the boat. The river's rising, you'll drown." And the man said, "Don't worry about me. I don't need any help. I'll take care of it. I have faith. God will provide." Well, the river kept on rising, and soon the man was sitting on his roof, and along came a helicopter. The helicopter hovered over the man's house, and the people in the helicopter hollered down, old man, we'll send you a ladder. Come up, the river's rising. You're going to drown." And the old man said, "I don't need any help. I'll take care of it. I have faith. God will provide." Well, he drowned. And later, he stood before the throne of the Most High, complaining, "I had faith. I expected to be provided for, and here I am. You let me down." But the voice from the throne of the Most High said, "I don't understand. I sent you a truck. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter." Sometimes we just can't see the help that's coming our way.